Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about baby bottles, and I have several pretty popular brands here, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic because I believe that finding the right bottle fit for your child makes a world of a difference in the feeding experience, both for them and for you. So I'm going to run through each of these, try to do it fairly briefly, and state the pros and cons to each one in our personal experience. Some of this might apply to your child or to you, and some of it might not, but I hope some of this information will be really helpful to you, as it has been a process of trial and error for us. So a little bit about us. We became foster parents, my husband and I, a few months back, and we got a little foster baby at 2 days old from the hospital. So we were thrown into the newborn stage right out of the get-go, and we were exclusively bottle feeding from the start. So our experience is with exclusive bottle feeding, but these tips will apply to wherever you're starting your bottle feeding journey. So let's jump right in. Here on this side of the continuum, we have bottles that have not worked out very well, and then on this side will be the lucky winners. So I'll start with the bottle that did not work out, or worked out the least for our son, and that is these Philips Avent. I believe this model is the natural latch. So most of these bottles do claim to be anti-colic. They claim to kind of have an ease of cleaning, and claim to be close to breast, to the breast experience. But in reality, that is not always the case. So in our experience with the Avent bottle, our son did not latch onto it very well. This nipple base here, hope you could see that, has a large area of plastic, which is a bit harder, and he has a nice wide grin, so his latch onto this bottle was not a natural and easy experience for him. So he kind of just didn't have a great latch from the get-go. Now with every new bottle that we tried, I tried to have him feed him at least twice to really see if he can adjust to it, or if he ends up liking it. So with this one, I tried it a couple of times, and it was obvious that it was not a good fit for him. So their claim is ease of cleaning, and I will say that they are very easy to clean. They're nice and narrow and fairly compact, so easy to put in your diaper bag and to travel. They were really good at not leaking, so those are some positives to this bottle. But once again, I would say that one of the most important things to look out for in your child's feeding experience is how they latch, and just how easily they end up feeding from that bottle. So this one just didn't work out very well. The next bottle that I have, it's another popular brand, the Mam brand, and these bottles, once again, same claim. They claim to have the anti-colic experience, and their anti-colic experience is a little different. They have the base comes out with the plastic and a silicone area, and as you're feeding, the air escapes through this bottom area, which is a great feature, I think, and it does help the air escape. The downside to this bottle is that it has this unique narrow nipple area. So it goes fairly narrow at the top here, and then it's wide on the other side. And once again, it might just be the shape of your child's mouth as to whether they get a good latch, but our son did not get a good latch with this one. I think the nipple is was a bit too narrow for him, and so as you can see, there's this larger plastic base here as well, and you'll see kind of this is a theme as to whether or not our son enjoyed that feeding experience. So another thing with this bottle that I just not a fan of is that it does have more components to it. It has more takeaway parts, and the cleaning is just a little bit more of a hassle. So as you know, with a newborn, you have a lot of things going on. So my desire was to have things to be as simplified as possible. That's not always possible. If your child really loves a certain bottle and it's extra steps, I'm sure you're gonna, you know, go ahead and go for it anyways and put the extra work into it. He just did not latch well, and so that was the main negative to the Mams brand. The next one that we tried was the Dr. Brown's bottle, and you will see these bottles everywhere. A lot of people use them, and I've heard a lot of great things about them. Once again, it does have a lot of components, and from what I've heard, if you have a very colicky baby, these are lifesavers. They work really great because of this special anti-colic valve. So it captures the air and releases it through this bottom portion, but it is a lot of parts. It's a lot of, you know, fine cleaning. So it is a little bit of work in the assembly and cleaning department. So that's one of the reasons why we didn't choose to stick with this brand. Another thing is that, as with most Dr. Brown's bottles, they also have this very narrow silicone nipple tip. So this one is fairly long. So if you're looking to interchange with other bottles, I would say this one is the most different from other types of nipples and other bottles. So my son didn't interchange well with other bottles. It was just such a different experience for him. He latched on pretty well to it, but if I went from this one to another bottle, he didn't do well with that. And so because overall he wasn't too colicky from the get-go, it just wasn't the right fit for us. Once again, the biggest negative to this one is just the amount of compartments that you have to clean. One thing to note, this bottle is the glass version. Most of these bottles outside of the Comotomos do have glass versions. Now today, a lot of the plastic bottles have removed the BPA and other harmful chemicals from them, so they're a lot safer than what they were back in the day, so that's great. But I think the idea behind the glass bottles was just more safety and less chemicals. But when you're feeding with a nice thick glass bottle and the feeding takes about 15 to 20 minutes, it gets heavy to hold. So this was a very uncomfortable feeding experience for me. So I wouldn't recommend getting glass, especially now that plastics are a lot safer. And also you have the risk of breaking once your child gets a little bigger and they want to hold the bottle on their own. You know, it could fall, it could, you know, they could throw it on the floor and whatnot. So just a word about glass, it's definitely a personal choice, but that was what I found in a personal experience there. Moving on, this area right here, these are just the lifesavers and winners in our book in regards to baby bottles. So these very simple Tommy Tippee bottles worked very well for our son. One thing that I will mention, as with all bottles and just the process of selecting the right one thing that's very important is to know what age your baby is and when you're starting to bottle feed. So if you're starting from the newborn stage, it's so important to get the 0 nipple number, the extra slow flow. I find that a lot of people start with the 1, which is the slow flow, but starting our son off on the 0, the extra slow flow, this was a lifesaver. He ate from this really simple bottle the best. It has an escape air valve here at the top, so I try to keep it up and keep the milk on the bottom here so it doesn't reintroduce bubbles. It's very compact and very easy to clean. So you just, these two come apart and then this comes out as well. There's no extra components to it, and it's a very good tight fitting lid, so shaking it, this bottle did not leak, and it was just such an easy and good bottle that we were so grateful we found, because this was a lifesaver. I think our son was feeding from this extra slow flow for over 2 months, so, and he did so well with it. It's nice and small, very easy to clean, and then we ended up getting the larger size and the faster nipple. So we got the 1, the slow flow after that, and then also the 2. So make sure you have the correct flow for your child's age. If you're noticing they're kind of choking on the formula or breast milk, maybe it's better to go with a slower flow. Maybe it is the actual bottle that needs to be changed and they're not getting a good latch. There's so many different kind of components to be aware of. And the next one, after he did so well with these, I was set on just staying exclusive to this brand, and just because it worked so well. But I kept hearing so many great things about the Comotomos. A couple of my friends were just raving about them, so I decided why not go on a limb and get 2 of these and see if he would, take to this one. And I will say that I am so glad that I did that, because this nipple, although most of them claim to be closest to the breast experience, this one in our experience has been closest to breast experience. So as you can see, the actual nipple area is very, very large. It's very soft. So this whole area is just super, it's silicone, I believe. It's very soft. He made such a strong and good latch from his very first try with this bottle that I was so impressed by the design and the just genius, I guess, of the way this bottle is designed. It's pretty different from, especially these ones over here where there's a larger like plastic area that's more rough. This one, as you can see, it's nice and soft. And the cool thing about these is they're great for when your child gets a little older, because the bottom is silicone. So say they throw it on the ground, or they want to hold it, it's nice and soft, and yeah, it's not gonna break. The one thing that I didn't love about this is they do have on the actual cap these ridges that kind of they're not gonna cut you when you wash the bottles out, but they're just kind of a bit rough. There's 4 of these ridges, so I'm not a huge fan of that. And another thing is when you do close it and shake it, I don't know if the milk gets released through these air vent valves. They have 2 of them on these bottles, or through the top, but it does tend to spill inside the cap. It's not a huge deal, but I do love that these ones don't spill at all. But with just the way he latches on so well to these, I'm willing to, still use them. And so basically these 2 are our top winning brands, and we use them interchangeably. The nice thing is they both have pretty soft nipples. They're kind of similar, so he doesn't mind using a couple of these, because then as you know, it's expensive to just go out and buy more bottles. They kind of are a bit pricey for a pack of 2. So yeah, that was kind of our process of trial and error to getting to our go-to bottles. And I will say that finding the right bottle is a really special time in the process. You're just like, yes, the feeding experience is finally where I want it to be. And so that was a really exciting time for us, and I hope that your process will be as quick as possible to finding the right fit. Babies can be colicky for a number of reasons, and I know that some babies just have various issues with feedings, and it's not the bottle's fault. So I know there's so many different scenarios out there, but like I said, in our experience, just finding the right bottle, the right formula for our son, it was just a really relieving time for us. So yeah, I would love to hear about your bottle feeding experience, when you started bottle feeding, and what your favorite brands have been. If you have any suggestions or things that you would love to share, feel free to comment below and let me know about your experience. Thank you so much for joining, and I hope to see you soon. Bye bye.